Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. It's Halloween season, but it's been more tricks than treats as Rovers gained only 1 point from 6. But the fans are split on who to blame for this one. But before we get into that, let's get to those headlines. So Rovers take a point against a strong West Brom side at home. Hayden Carter's knee injury puts him out of action for months rather than weeks. An away trip to Watford bears no fruit as we fall 1-0 to what I think was a harsh penalty. And the goals are starting to dry up for the Rovers strikers as we misfire once again as we prepare to take on the Blades. But on a positive note, our man Mark is back to 100% after his man flu, and he is firing on all cylinders. So, Mark, did you have a good weekend?
I had a lovely weekend, Mike. Despite the football, I watched it whilst in Lancaster with some good friends. We had a good chat, a good drink, a good curry. So, I won't let Rovers take the shine off what was really a positive weekend. I'm off for a week as well. So what more do you want in life?
So you're a teacher, you see, you get these holidays, you're a part-timer like all these teachers obviously are. Well, I enjoyed managing to watch a midweek game, but yeah, that Saturday early kickoff killed me. I was rushing to get my kids' games done and back, and then it was kids' parties. So I actually had to watch a replay of that one, which I was a bit upset about. I was on information lockdown, and I managed to watch it like slightly later. But let's get into that first one, West Brom game. First off, starting lineup. Was you surprised not to see much rotation there?
I was trying to take the week as a whole, really. I wanted to see what we'd learned from the last time, so I needed to see that we weren't playing the same team 3 games in a row. We weren't flogging them. So, yeah, I felt it's probably the right team, if I'm being honest. I felt it was probably the right decisions that we made against them. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a bit concerned about the lack of rotation in that centre mid area. Because we are starting to, a few little cracks here or there, a few little mistakes, but taking it as it came, I was happy to see Ohashi come in. Obviously, Gueye hasn't exactly been firing. Yeah. We'll get on to Gueye eventually, but yeah, I mean, West Brom, good side, big, strong. I think the one thing I noticed when this lineup started and they're all shaking hands, it's just the size difference. West Brom always managed to find these huge players that are quite athletic, and it's just quite scary, really, how small our players are. And then obviously it doesn't help when Hayden Carter goes off injured in the 34th minute. But yeah, I just felt like we looked quite small against them.
Yeah, I mean, the main talking point for me, I was glad Ohashi come in for Gueye. I thought he deserved that. And my main one that surprised me in some ways, not in others, was Rankin Costello keeping his place. I thought he'd done well enough to keep his place. I just thought 2 games in a week. And when we did the preview for West Brom, obviously me and you had a chat, and I talked to Chris Hull from West Brom. He talked a lot about their strength being out wide, and I thought, yeah. So it's surprising that Colin Grant we pitched Rankin Costello against him. I think because athleticism's Colin Grant's probably his main strength. It's probably not Rankin Costello's main strength. But I thought he did. I thought he did well. I didn't think we really looked like we were outmuscled at any point. I thought we matched them physically. I thought we matched them in every department. And I actually came away from the West Brom game, despite the fact that you can throw negatives out there. You can throw the fact that we've not scored. You can throw the fact, we've not, we're not 100% now at home, which I think is just nonsense. I thought I came away from it going, do you know what? I would put West Brom up and around it. I don't think they'll be in contention for automatic, but I think they'll be up and around the playoffs, and we more than matched them. So for me, I came away from that game going, actually, I'm starting to reevaluate where I see us as a team.
100% agree. I was quite positive. I thought as points go, it was a good solid point, and that's the kind of game where normally we'd probably come away with it with nothing and a disappointing performance. I was quite happy with the chances. It was kind of chances to make chances rather than clear-cut chances for us. But we had the ball in their final third quite a bit, especially that second half. I mean, they're wing backs, well, kind of wing backs, full backs, Furlong and Hagen were just getting forward, and I thought they were going to kill us. They had some fantastic chances, but we managed to give them something to think about as well. It was a shame that we couldn't get. I don't know. I thought that second half was there for the taking, but then we still relied on Pears to make some saves.
Yeah, and I thought there was one, wasn't there, where he sort of patted it down. But other than that, he looked okay again. I thought it was a pretty uninspiring is the wrong word, but there was no outstanding performances from us. There was nobody who went, "Oh my God, he's a shining light." But equally, it just felt very solid. It felt like two teams that cancelled each other out. It was a very tactical game. I mean, the way I sort of likened it was I'm into my boxing, heavily into my boxing, and you'll see the casual fan will watch certain boxing matches and they'll see them knocking 10 bells out of each other, and there might not be that much skill, but that's the ones that they love. That was not what this game was about. It wasn't necessarily end-to-end. It wasn't all action, but it was a real high-level tactical battle. I thought those two managers that had done their homework on each other. I thought that they've watched what we've done with having Beck, who's quite an attacking fullback, but having Cantwell on that side, and they tried to exploit it. What I would have liked to have seen us done, because we were at home, was just call their bluff for 5 or 10 minutes and said, you know what, Furlong, I'm going to put Cantwell up at the other end of the pitch, because Cantwell works really hard. And I was getting a bit frustrated. I've seen a few people saying he's not working hard, he doesn't track back. Two different things. Tracking back and working hard are two different things. His tactical role in this team, he's not athletic enough to get up and down, so we don't ask him to do that. We adapt our tactical approach considering where he's playing. That said, he would have either had to sit in to stop Furlong doubling up on Beck, or you go the other way and go, well, I'm going to stay here in a free role, and if you want Furlong to be doubling up on Beck, but I'm going to be Todd Cantwell and in a free role against you, go for it. Let's gamble. I would have potentially liked to have seen us do that a little bit, but I couldn't really criticise. I thought they'd done their homework, and Corberan's a manager I really, really rate, and I thought Eustace matched him tactically, and I thought it was just two very well-matched teams that probably lacked in a bit of quality, both of them, but are two very solid championship teams that will be difficult for anybody to beat.
No, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the conversation's kind of got ahead of me a little bit now, because I was going to play our match audio reactions. I'll play that in just a second. But my initial reaction after this was to actually look back and think, this really feels it really feels like we've turned a corner in certain games, that we have this. Not necessarily plan B, but we're willing to adjust and adapt how we see fit to get something out of it. And if a point's there to be had, we will have the point. We won't just go silly because we're at home and try and go for the win or anything like that. We are going to try and sit in and do what we need to do. Now, we'll get into players from an individual point of view in a minute, but from a team point of view, I felt like there was times where we played the ball beautifully. There was times we went from back to front quite nicely. And like I said, there was chances to make chances. Now, we are starting to be a little bit toothless in that final third, and that's something we will talk about eventually. But I thought Cantwell again showed some qualities. I mean, his yellow cards, I thought Hedges and Dolan did okay. It just, like you said, there was just no one that really stood out, but there was no one that was particularly poor. Their team, you could tell they had that X factor. There was something that could change at any point, and normally we would let something slip, something will go through, and they had them chances and they didn't take them. But other than that, we kind of kept them at bay. And I came away after the game thinking, well, actually, I'll take that point. So before we carry on, let's play that audio of what we're discussing. I'm not sure that was actually playing right. We've got more technical issues on that one. Okay, we'll ignore that one this week. I'm not too sure what was happening there. Yeah, so like I said, my initial reaction coming away was quite, I don't know, positive. I think it was a positive point. Was you on the same boat with that?
100%. I'm in the boat of, I think we've been so up and down as a team in the Championship. We've lacked an identity at times, or we've looked weak. We've looked easy to beat at our worst. And right now, I feel our worst is we're just not creating loads. That's the worst we sort of have as a performance, but we're still a really solid team, and there's loads to work from with that. With that, you can start to then add that X factor. You can start to go, right, how do we open this up a bit? I thought, yeah, they had a good chance. Obviously, Furlong had their best chance, but Rankin Costello equally had a really good chance for us. So I just thought it was pretty even. And I judge West Brom as a team that I think are a really good, solid Championship team that could, on a good season, push into the playoffs. On one of their poorer seasons, they'll finish 8th to 10th. So if that's the level we are now at, fair play to John Eustace, because that's not from a massive turnover and investment-wise. So that's what I took from it. I thought, I now see us in the same bracket as them, and that's massive progress. Massive progress.
Yeah, and looking at some of the reactions of the fans on the Rovers full-time tweet that they put out, I put they were bigger, faster and stronger, but we held our own and nearly got more. Rover sees, he's put point in the bag onto the next one. Tommy, positive result, gave a good side a really tough game tonight. We were the better team in the second and could have nicked it, but it was always a game that could have gone either way in the end. It's good fight and good effort from the boys, still undefeated at home and on to the next. Very, very positive. And I think not many people here are talking about the performance itself, because I think, Rovers previous, midweek, home or away, when you're playing a team like West Brom, you kind of expect to take the loss and move on. And I think everyone just appreciates the fact that that's not been the case this time, and that we actually managed to get something out of a game where we wouldn't normally do that. So yeah, I think it was all generally positive. I mean, looking at the individuals, like we said, there was no one that really stood out. They played well as a team. Pears made some decent saves at the back. JRC, some people arguably saying that he was our man of the match. Who got man of the match? Do we know who got it for the club? I can't remember.
Do you know? I can't remember. I don't.
No. So yeah, it was just a real performance. I mean, the subs coming on didn't really make a huge difference late on, because I want to bring up Sigurdsson with you. Are you surprised that we're not seeing him in this? We didn't see him start in this game?
Not surprised. I'm disappointed in some ways, because I feel that I want him to be more. I want him to be more involved, but I'm not surprised. And equally, I'm not that frustrated by it, because the reason I think I want him to be starting and featuring more is because I think he's got loads of ability. But also, I trust John Eustace enough that if he's finding his way into the team, then he's ready to make an impact. And he fits in tactically. So if he's not, I'm not frustrated either. I don't feel like it's somebody I'm going, oh, he should be playing. To me, I'm quite happy and quite content with our manager, in that if he doesn't feel somebody's right to be playing, then they shouldn't be playing. There'll be a reason, and I might not know what it is, but I'm happy to go with it.
100% agree with you on that one. But yeah, I mean, I came away at the end of it, like I said, positive. I've just had a look at some of the 3-word reviews, and it seems to be that people are positive there as well. Do you have any favourites that were listed there?
Yeah, I think the standouts for me were, I mean, people were saying Unbeaten at Home by Hamburger Acid. Great name. Mark Whittle, hard-earned point. Tim DYO, another clean sheet. But I think Chris BRFC Wire was right. Cantwell looking sharper. I took that. But then Steve Beaumont and Chris both said praying for Carter. And that was my big takeaway from the game, other than what I thought was a really solid performance and what I think has established us, in my mind, as a solid championship team that, nobody's just going to come and roll over. That's a big miss for Hayden Carter. And your mind starts going, right, well, now we've only 2 centre-halves, really, because McFadden hasn't, he's not featured at all, has he? So you're going to guess that we feel we can only play him in a 3 or in certain situations. So we've got a problem.
No, I agree. Okay, just a quick one-word answer. Happy with the performance?
Yes.
I'm the same. Yes, I agree. And obviously, we follow up that with a trip to Watford. It was a good result last year. We managed to get the win with a beautiful Hedges goal. Times have changed. We've now moved on, and we go down there on a nice early Saturday kickoff. Let's see see if this match reaction audio works for this one, because I want this one to work, because this was a good one. We are having major technical issues on this one. I'm gonna have one last go at this one, because I think you'd had a bit of a drink after when you recorded this one. So I'm desperate for this one to work. But yeah, I came into this game after the West Brom one, and what I expected was a little bit more rotation. I expected some players to come in and make a difference. So I was excited. But yeah, right, let's have a go with this match audio again. I'm hoping this works. No, it's not working.
It's
technical
a shame,
issues left, right, and
what a
centre.
shame.
I tested this before the podcast, and it was all working fine. I don't know what's going on. We might put these ones out as a separate tweet, because I want yours.
What a shame.
I want yours.
Do you know what? Probably. I have listened back to mine. I had 2 pints of Wainwright's ale. And it sounds like I've had 453 pints of Wainwright's ale.
Oh God, I listened to it. I was chuckling. We'll see if we can get that one sorted. I'm not too sure where it's gone wrong. Yeah. We have paid the bills, so we should be able to get this uploaded. But for some reason, for the first time, it's not doing it. I'll have a go with another one in a bit. So yeah, so I came away from this one feeling positive on one sense. I was positive with the performance and the fact that we actually made opportunities. We had the chances to win. I felt aggrieved that we'd lost, and that's what gave me that positive view. What did you come away with initially?
Bizarrely, a real positive feeling, even though we've lost, because again, I felt we just built from the West Brom game. Because what I wanted us to do going to Watford, I know they've been okay at home, but they're on the back of a poor run of results. I mean, the way that they were unfolding during midweek, if they'd just carried on conceding at the rate they did, was it 2 in the first 10 minutes or so? I was concerned that Clever was going to get the boot and then we'll have a new manager in, and, particularly with it being Watford. So I took this game as, do you remember the Norwich game last year when we went there and Wagner was seemingly clinging on to his job? And we really took the game to them, and we got the crowd straight back onto their backs. We got the players going, oh no, it's happening again. And I thought that's how I wanted us to approach the game. But as much as I think Eustace is doing a really good job, I didn't think he would do that. I thought he'd just carry on being Eustace. And actually we did. We completely dominated the first 20 minutes. We didn't really give him a sniff. We moved the ball around quickly. We looked really accomplished. I thought this was possibly our best performance of the season. Certainly away performance.
Yeah, that's a bold statement. I mean, Weimann got the start. I expected a bit more. So I think it was only Weimann and Gueye.
There was 4,
obviously, and
Britain and Bath obviously.
Yeah. So there was some rotation. I'm getting concerned about that centre mid still not being rotated. I'm worried that he doesn't know who his starting striker is. But like you said, we put in a good performance. How Heim didn't get his goal, that's so unlucky. But yeah, I mean, I think one of their centre backs got man of the match, didn't they? Pretty sure they did.
Yeah, it was a Portis.
Yeah, I think he did. So I was just really, I came away feeling positive yet negative. It was a strange one. Now, when the game started, did you feel like we started brightly, or do you think it took us a while to get into it?
No, I thought first 20 minutes we played really well. I thought we dominated the ball. I will be honest, I think we look a better team with Callum Britton in it. I felt we looked comfortable yet confident. We moved the ball around quicker than we have, and that's the key for me, for us. I think we need to move that ball quicker at times. I know what you mean about the starting striker. I think if he could nail it down, and I know we'll go on to this in more detail later, I think if you asked him who he thinks is the better of the two, he'd say Ohashi. I just think it's possibly a fitness thing with Ohashi that he doesn't think he can play 2 games in a week at the minute because of all the things we've talked about. But so he kind of uses Gueye to get through the first elements of games when he's playing him. But I thought Todd Cantwell had his best game for us. I thought QPR aside, I know that 45 minutes when he had a free roll, obviously it was different. But in terms of an 11v11 and a starting performance, I thought he played really well. I thought he was really influential. I thought we looked for him a lot. And he was having a big impact. I thought there was one or two who, I thought Weimann was quite quiet. I thought Hedges had one of his quieter games. But just generally speaking, I just thought it was a really solid performance. And I thought if any team was going to win it, it would be us. And I thought we looked the better of the 2 teams.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the teams now, and they're not too shabby with the team that they've got. And I thought we did really well to stifle them. And we're just a team that is playing above our station. Like you say, Eustace is working wonders. I think he's found something that's working to an extent, and he's just absolutely drilling it down. But he is willing to make the tweaks where needed. That centre mid, I don't know why Baker's not getting an opportunity to come in and give one of these a rest, because they do seem to be 2 players. I mean, Baker's a different kind of player to them. I get that, but they are playing quite an energetic role in having to track back and get that ball and so on. I'm just really worried that we haven't broken them up yet, and when we do, it's going to be as an emergency rather than actually planning it in. So they both came off the bench. They both got subbed off I think one came. Did they come off at the same time? No, one came off. Travis came off on the 78th, Tronstad on the 84th. And I don't know. I'm just like, I think we just need a little bit more rotation in that centre mid. I just think they're either going to burn out or they're both going to get suspended at the same time, and then we're going to have an issue.
It's a strange one, isn't it? So, I mean, Baker, when I've spoken to Stoke fans, they've said that the reason he didn't really enjoy it at Stoke was because he was played off the left and he feels he's more of a central midfielder. We've brought him in and I see him as quite a solid, dependable, consistent Championship footballer. And I thought, yeah, he'll be when Travis is needing a rest or is suspended, Baker will come in for him. When Tronstad isn't, it'll be Buckley. Whilst we might think that that's a downgrade or whatever Eustace might, I just presume that's the way it will go. And he doesn't seem to trust anybody else other than them 2, which is worrying. I can't see anywhere right now where Baker stays beyond the season. I know it's a loan and then he's out of contract. He's only really, if you think about it now, he came on at the Burnley game. Obviously, we'd had Semen, that's kind of null and void. But he started on the left there when he came on. He's played on the left-hand side a couple of times, hasn't he? And it didn't really work. And that's been about it. We've not seen him in one of these central roles. So he almost like he's not an option central midfield. So then the options that Eustace seems to choose from are obviously the starting two. Rankin Costello seems to be the option instead of Travis, and Buckley instead of Tronstad, but he doesn't seem to want to go to either of them unless, like you say, he really, really has to, which is surprising.
Yeah. And I do think that there's certain players you can tell he doesn't trust. He doesn't trust Sigurdsson. He doesn't trust Baker.
Nope.
You can tell he doesn't trust Buckley. Obviously, he doesn't trust Gueye because I just don't think he trusts Gueye. Whereas everyone else, he's got an element. You can tell he's got an element of respect and willing to give plenty of game time too. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm going to talk about the penalty now. When it came to the penalty, I felt like it was out of the blue. The game seemed to be at a point where it could have gone either way, but I don't know. Do you feel like it was out of the blue, like that penalty where that attack?
Yeah, it had a bit of a lull, the game, didn't it? But for me, I was just looking at our bench. I didn't feel in any danger. I was just looking at the bench and thinking, right, how do we change this? Where do we go from here? And it was just a gift. I couldn't see them scoring in any other way. It was just an absolute gift. And I'll be honest, Mark, I was absolutely infuriated by it because the referee was yards away from it. He had an unobstructed view. He didn't give it. He has allowed play to carry on for 2-3 seconds, but it wasn't like he was seeing how play developed and it was playing advantage. He just hadn't give it. He'd seen what had gone on. He turned his head. So somebody else has made that decision. It can't be the assistant referee because he was on the opposite side. So he was on Owen Beck's side. So the only person that can have had any influence on that is the fourth official, who should be stood with his hands in his pockets waiting to make subs. And instead, Tom Cleverley's bouncing around like a jack in the box next to him, going absolutely bonkers. And then the referee gives it. That can't be right in any way. If that had gone to VAR, again, you would say, well, hold on, it shouldn't be going to VAR because the referee's had the best view. He has had the best view you could have. He's seen it in as the game's running at its natural speed. He's seen Hedges' movement. Hedges was clearly thought that there might be contact and had his arms up to say, listen, I've not fouled him before any contact. And that was when the ball was not even making any movement towards him. He's not moved his arm towards it. He's not moved his arms when the ball's in the air. His arms were already up. The ball, it's the classic back in the day, that would be called ball to hand. There was no movement from the hand to the ball. It wasn't unnatural. There's no unnatural position. He's not gained an advantage by it. He's not made a movement towards it. It's in quite a natural position. All right, don't put your hands up, but every player does that. I'm not touching him. Look, ref, my hands are nowhere near him. I'm not fouling him. And the referee didn't give it. That's the crucial bit. The referee, unobstructed view, not far away at all, has not given it. So it's not a penalty. I'll be honest, I was furious by it. And the fact Cleverley came out afterwards and said, oh, it's obviously one of them that, you want if it's your... No, it wasn't a penalty. Nobody really appealed for it other than him. He turned into prime Martin O'Neill, didn't he, on the touchline? And then all of a sudden it's been given. And I'll be honest, it's reignited a bit of a hatred for Man United for me because I just felt like that sort of decision is what Man United used to get. And it's no coincidence he used to play for them. But yeah, disgraceful.
Yeah, I was surprised it was given on one hand. On the other, I know that the rules of football have gone completely crazy and it's a different world we live in. It's not the same. Like you say, ball to hand doesn't exist anymore. They talk about natural position and natural position. And ultimately, it could be that, the ref should know that he's put his hands up to say, I'm avoiding him and the ball's just flicked up. I was astounded it was given on one hand, and on the other, I was just like, this is the EFL, and this kind of rubbish happens all the time. So I'm not surprised it was given. There's quite a few reports saying it is an unnatural position and he shouldn't have even put his hands up. But if you've played the game and you've done something like that it is actually a natural thing to do. Your natural thing to do when you're getting close to someone and you're pulling out of a tackle, which is what he was doing. It is exactly like you said. Look, I haven't touched him. Or I'm stopping my body. It's your natural. It is actually a natural reaction to stop yourself going any further, to actually put your hands up like that. So yeah, it felt like a complete kick in the teeth, because it did seem like we were the more likely to probably get something out of that game by the end of it, and it just killed us, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the rules talk about making yourself unnaturally bigger, don't they? To sort of block the ball. He's not done it. He has not done that. So, yeah, it did. It just gave them something to hang on to. I thought we responded quite well, though, because that could have been, you could have lost your head. You could have gone really flat. And I thought, actually, we made changes. I thought the changes showed a real determination when they came on. Ultimately, they didn't create loads. But I thought all of them, right from Ohashi before the penalty through to Sigurdsson, came on with a real intent to make an impact in the game. Whether they had the impact we wanted or not, they came on with a real desire to have an impact on the game. And that was really pleasing to see, because there was one shot of the bench where Pickering and Baker were there and Gueye, and they looked, I'm going to say, despondent, stroke frustrated. And I was a little bit worried about that, because I've not seen that from anybody really, other than about results or decisions. And it looks like they were all sort of having a bit of a sulk. The players who came on the pitch, though, didn't sulk at all. They didn't. There was no, even Dolan, what did he get? 9 minutes? Didn't come on the pitch, with a, bloody hell, I've travelled all this way down to Watford and I've not even got a kick. I've got 9. He came on with, right, might only have 9 minutes, but I'm going to, let's see what I can do. And I was really pleased with the attitude of the players. I was.
And we'd got some really good chances. We were missing some simple chances as well, and that was getting frustrating, because it did look like that this could have been a game to go and get something. And for the ref to give something like that, and then it is a kick in the teeth. And like you say, it was great how we responded. There's a lot of determination and controlled aggression that we were using. I liked it. I liked the performance to an extent, but it's hard to come away when you lose 1-0 and find positives. But there were positives there, and I'm not just saying this as a blindly positive fan, but like you said earlier, we haven't had this overhaul of squad. We have got near enough the same core of squad that we've had for the last couple of years. And for us to go into this game after that West Brom game, which was, it looked like it was quite tiring for them. There hasn't been a hell of a lot of rotation. To go all the way down to Watford and actually put in this kind of performance, I did feel positive. I'm getting really worried about the lack of goals, because, we have scored a fair amount, but they just seem to come in one game and then we won't score in a few others. But away performance-wise, much, much better than the Plymouth and Coventry games. And that's what I kind of came away with. That was, yes, it was nice that we actually had someone to blame for the loss. If they'd just gone and scored 1-0, I think we'd finish different. We'd be thinking differently. But the fact that we can actually blame the ref, it's quite nice, because now we're not having a go at the lads. But obviously there is people having a go at Gueye at the moment, with the fact that we didn't take them opportunities. But Vyman had a chance, didn't he? And it wasn't an easy chance, but I wanted him to do better.
I was just going to say, I think Vyman's got away with the last couple of games, because he should have scored. Not the West Brom game, the previous home game, when he ran through on goal and either should have slipped. I think it was Ohashi, but should have gone in the corner. Was the top and bottom of it. It was a rookie error. It was an error that Hedges made against Preston that time, but it was an error that a kid makes. He shouldn't have made that, and then he should have scored here. And Vyman's role in this team is moments. It's maybe off the bench, but it's moments like this. A big player that you expect to score and contribute these big moments. And he's done it at Turf Moor. He's come on and contributed against Derby. He's picked up a goal. But I probably judge him slightly higher, because I expect him to come and finish them. That's what I think his role in the team is. So I was actually harsher on him than I was with Gueye. I expect more of Weimann, I think. Gueye, I think, yeah, he's raw. Of course he's raw. We know that, and he's struggling for confidence. But Weimann, for me, I wouldn't have expected Gueye necessarily to score that, but I would have expected Weimann to score it. He should have scored it.
Yeah, we need to be clinical. We don't have the kind of players that are going to make constant chances, and clear cut ones. And when you are away in the Championship, and I don't care who it's to, you need to take those chances. You need to take these opportunities, and that I think that was frustration. I mean, Hyams, that was unlucky. You know, that is a millimetre difference off the bar. It hits the post differently and comes back over the line. Loads of different things could have happened with that one. I thought he did really well to even get the shot off, for a centre-back to do what he did. But it is frustrating when we're making chances, and it does seem like schoolboy errors at times. It does seem like decision making isn't quite there. So, is it a coaching thing or is it a confidence thing?
Without being overly harsh, I just think it's a quality thing. I think the coaching element and the tactical element we've got. What you can't sometimes coach is that cool head and that decision making at the key times, and that comes with quality. And that's why those players cost a lot of money. And you can make teams really hard to beat. You can make them really resilient, and that will get you so far. What it won't do is give you that X factor, and that's why those players cost so much money. And that's what we talked about, why we think we need to dip into the low market. We think we're missing that element, but that's okay. I'm fine with that, because what I can't accept is us making rookie errors and conceding the same goal all the time. Or, if Weimann runs through on goal and he should take it into the corner and he does it week after week after week, you can't accept that kind of thing. We're not doing that. We're doing 99% of the things that you should do, that you can control really well. And that's why I came away from this week much happier than I did the Coventry and Plymouth week, even though we only got 1 point. I felt like, do you know what? I can really identify with this team. I can see a way forward with this team. Yeah, we know there's an X factor to add. Of course there is. But that's okay, because you can go and find that. I just think there's a real solidity about us without us lacking ambition as well at the same time. I think we're lacking quality, and that's okay. I'm fine with that for now.
Yeah, and it is something we need to build on. Looking at some of the fan reactions, again, it's very similar to the West Brom one, where people are quite positive to an extent. There's a lot of people blaming the ref. So frustrating, good fight and good effort. We lost because of a shocking officiating decision. Deserve more after that second half performance. We're competing and the boys are playing for the badge. Frustrating one, but positives to take looking forward. Unlucky, but we move on. Chris has put, can't wait for Leonard to be back so we can have someone decent leading the line. We weren't lucky today. Go stronger on the next one. They're the worst team we've played all season and we can't score. Aaron's put a picture of Duncan Maguire on. Too soon, Aaron. I'm not ready to talk about Duncan Maguire. And then Rovers put, it was an okay away performance, bad call from the ref. Left half of our best 11 on the bench. We need to move. We need to get Buckley on. I think the thing I'm quite liking at the moment is the fans are quite positive and actually seeing some positives in each game. And that's quite nice, because previously we have just imploded at times, and we come away thinking, well, that was a really weird decision from JDT, from Mowbray. I'm not getting that vibe as much with Eustace. There are moments where I feel like the subs haven't come when they should have come, and there are times where, maybe I would like a little bit more rotation. And like you've said previously, sometimes you need to rotate before they get tired. So there's a little bit of that, but I do believe in what Eustace is doing, and he's doing really well with what he's got. And like you say, to come away from those two games with 1 point and still be positive, it shows that we are building something.
Absolutely. Obviously I'd said in the last pod I thought we'd get 1 point from it. I was hoping we'd get more. But if you're ever just going to get 1 point from 2 games, you want to feel something positive, and that comes from a performance. And this is why we say it as it is. The Coventry and the Plymouth games, we were really, really frustrated because of the performances more than anything. And even if we'd have snuck a draw at Plymouth and we'd have got that 1 point there from those 2 games, I felt a lot happier this weekend than I would even if we'd have got the point there. I was a bit concerned against Coventry and Plymouth, if I'm being honest. I feel in a much better place. I'm much more content with this team. I can see a way forward. And I think you're right. What I'm not hearing necessarily is fans just saying, oh, we're rubbish with this, with that. There's a little bit of that around Gueye. Yeah, there is. But generally speaking, what people are saying, I mean, the 3-word reviews here, we've got things like never a penalty and that kind of thing. But we've got people saying, need some pace. Vyman and Hedges, snails. Not clinical enough, predictable going forwards, slowest Rovers team. So in 3 words, they're summing up things there, though, that are, I think, right. I think it's harsh to go Hedges and Vyman snails, but what people are basically saying is it's not just saying that, we've only got 1 point from 2 games. Oh, we're crap. Throw this team in the bin. They're all rubbish. Get rid of Eustace. Nobody's saying this. Nobody's overreacting. We are seeing what everybody's seen, which is, do you know what? We're doing the best we can with what we've got, but we desperately need some pace and we need some more options in the final third. And that's okay, as long as we go and get them.
And what's weird for me since the international break is we've beaten Swansea, we've drawn against West Brom, and we've lost at Watford. But yet it feels like the best performance was at Watford and the worst performance was against Swansea. And West Brom was sandwiched in the middle. It's a real weird one. So it feels like, I mean, we're not scoring enough goals at the moment. I mean, so we didn't score against Coventry. We got 1 against Plymouth, 1 against Swansea, and then we haven't scored in the last 2 games. So it is a concern, that final third. But that final third has been a concern for us since bloody Jordan Rhodes and days. And obviously we managed to get Danny Graham, but generally we've always relied on one player to get goals. Now we're going to get into the striking situation, but we need to sort something out for the next game, and we are going into a game which is very difficult. Sheffield United, it is at home. What are you looking for? Some drastic changes, or do you think just keep with what we're doing?
No drastic changes for me. I think. I mean, if the transfer window was open, I'd be looking to see us going and buying somebody, but we can't. So with what we have got, I think we are doing the best we can. I don't think there's much we can really change. I probably would start Ohashi. I know we'll come on to that. I probably would, because I think Gueye's confidence is just slipping away a bit, and that's a worry, because once that starts to happen, sometimes players don't recover from that. I would like to see Leonard, if he's anywhere near fit, getting half an hour, because I think Ohashi playing 60 minutes and maybe Leonard giving us half an hour of energy would be a nice option. I think we are becoming a little bit predictable. So if he came and the lineup comes out at 11:30 on Saturday, and let's say Dolan's up front, actually, and we're going to see something a bit different, I'm okay with that. I can go with that. I'm happy. I'm open to him changing things, but equally, I think we can't change it so much that we lose what we've got. And I think what we've got for the majority of the time is working. My worry going into the season with Eustace was that we would be do not lose first, and I don't feel like he's doing that, actually. I think the lack of goals is coming from a lack of pace. Therefore, you become quite predictable and a lack of quality at times, not from the way we're set up. And I worry if you change the setup too much, we'd lose the solidity that we've got and then actually start losing games instead of drawing them.
And it's probably too early for us to discuss transfer windows, what we need in too much depth, because there's a lot of football to be played between now and then. You never know. Gueye could go and smash a hat-trick and he's off to the races. Leonard could come back in and absolutely boss it. We don't know. As it stands, it is a position of concern. We're going to be playing a very strong side. They've only conceded 6 goals all season. whilst they're only 2 points ahead of us, 2 positions ahead of us, and 3 points ahead of us, that they do have a very tight defence. And when you are going into a game where the opposition are as strong as what they are, they've got the strength, they've got the size, they've got the pace, they've got the ability. I would quite happily take another West Brom performance where we keep it quite tight. We try and control the game where we can, and just try and get a couple of chances. And if we get a point, we get a point and we move on. What's your expectations with this one? Do you think Sheffield United are going to come in and get at us?
I mean, let's be honest. Sheffield United, we obviously we did the pod about how to get promoted, and Sheffield United have got that parachute payment money. There's 2 ways of looking at this. You look at their recent run of results. They haven't won away from home in their last 3. So out of the last 6 games, they've won 3, but they're all at home. They have not conceded very many, but equally they're not scoring that many. They've beaten Stoke at home, Luton at home, who are on a shocking run, and Swansea at home. Okay. They've come up against decent teams in Middlesbrough, Leeds, and lost, and they've drawn away at Portsmouth, who are not doing that well either. So it's not a team that I think, oh my God, if we get a draw here, it's an amazing result. But I think you'd be an absolute fool to think that Sheffield United a draw against them is not a good result. They will be up there. Don't forget they've got 2 points deducted, so they'd actually be in second place right now. So they're coming to Ewood, and they are, a relegated team with parachute payments, with a lot of quality. We know what Chris Wilder is. We know that we know how they play. They'll be big. They'll be strong. They'll be physical. They've got players who will be on wages that are quadruple hours, and that from that side of it, if you get a draw, it's a great result. I think actually we should be looking at a draw, but I think we will approach it like we did West Brom, where we'll say, right, well, it's going to be a tight game. We'll make sure that nothing comes easy for them, and if we can grab a goal, then we'll grab a goal. I would see it being a very similar game. I think they will have some chances, not loads, but equally, I think we will, and it depends who's more clinical. And I suppose if you look at the talent they've got, they should be the ones that are more clinical. But you can spend 18 million on Ryan Brewster as many times as you want. Doesn't mean he's going to bag, does it? But he probably will now. So I shouldn't have said
that. Oh no, you jinxed it now. But yeah, Sheffield United remind me a lot of West Brom, having that strength and size.
Yeah.
And we don't do well with teams that play the Sheffield United way. So when you have come off a couple of results which aren't fantastic, but yeah, I'm now getting worried just about this rotation thing, because I think we're going to get found out at some point, and I'm worried that we're going to get found out in a very hard way. I don't know how we can counteract the pace, because we just don't have enough in our team to counteract pace. So if they are coming at us, I do worry. I think they probably have a little bit more quality than West Brom. So, well, I think that's quite an obvious thing to say, sorry, but they do have more quality than West Brom. So if they get the same kind of opportunities that West Brom got, I do believe that they will put theirs away, and then we're on the back foot. I think we're going to need an element of luck in this game. I think that we can't rely on just having a couple of chances here or there and hopefully bagging one. I think we need to really get at them. But I just can't see that happening. I think if we get at them too much, we'll open it up at the back. I think it's going to be very much like that West Brom game. And I just hope that we have the energy to match them. I might be being a bit negative there.
No, I mean, I think Sheffield United are a good team. Yes, they didn't really put up much of a fight in the Premier League, but they are a good team, and they've consistently, when they've been in the Championship, been one of the better teams by quite a margin, haven't they, really? But I just look at us, and I think rotation-wise, we've got players who you can bring in and not much changes, which is good. So if we mix it up and Dolan starts this game, or it's Hedges, or it's Cantwell, or it's Vyman, not much changes. I think the concern from that element is if it's not working and we're 1-0 down, you need to change it in some way, and we don't really have the option to do that. The only time that ever seems to happen is when we're playing it long to Gueye, he goes off, and then Ohashi's there and he actually is buzzing around. That's the only way we can seemingly change it. I would keep ranking Costello on the bench, though, because he can change a game. And he can change it in terms of when he runs deep from fullback and he sort of gets that mindset of, right, I'm going to get a hold of this game by the scruff of the neck. He just causes a bit of chaos because he goes to places that the right back's not supposed to go to. The left back sort of left thinking, hold on a minute, do I follow him? Do I not? It kind of causes that. So that would be my substitution, if you like. If we went 1-0 down, I would get some fresh legs in the front four, but then I would put Rankin Costello at right back. Whether you took Britton off or not, that's what I would do. Because I don't think with many other options, nobody runs in behind the strikers, nobody breaks through any lines. Everything can be quite predictable. And if Sheffield United sit in, everything's going to be in front of them, isn't it? We're not posing them any new problems. So that's something we need to address at some point. Leonard is one. I know it's a lot to put on his shoulders, and I think he's got a lot to learn. He's by no means the finished article, but he is one who will run in behind. He is one who finds his way into space in the box. I just think he could have a role to play moving forward.
Yeah, and we've got players like Sigurdsson and Koji Dewberry that hopefully have the quality to come in and offer something. But we're just not seeing them. We're not seeing them get opportunities. I think Hedges need to break. Yeah. I don't want to see Hedges against Sheffield United.
No, and Koji Dewberry is the one, isn't he? He's the one that we kind of, I mean, Eustace basically said he was going to start, didn't he? One of these games at least, had he not had a knock. So hopefully we've got a full week's rest between the two games. Hopefully he's back in training, and that'd be a nice one to either have coming off the bench or starting with it. He's the one who looks like he gives us something slightly different.
And who would you start, Gueye or Ohashi?
Everything tells me I would start Ohashi. However, if they're going to dominate the play, then Gueye is the better of the two in terms of if we're trying to get out and hold the ball up and things like that. I just worry about Gueye because I think the fans are starting to get at him a bit. If the team sheet comes out and it's Gueye, there's a reason it's Gueye, and that is probably that we want to try and get ourselves up the pitch and we're worried we might get penned in. What I don't want to see is fans, and it's just starting to turn a little bit where they're sort of taking the mickey out of him a little bit, and they're like, oh, bloody hell, Gueye is playing. I don't want that, because if 10 minutes in he's playing and he miscontrols one and you hear the groan around the ground, that is not going to help him. And I am just worried that he's on that edge of confidence turning into it almost quite ingrained. I do think I've seen him snatching at things, and I am just worried it's starting to tip into actually it's becoming a problem now.
Well, that's a perfect segue into talking about our strikers. But before that, do you have a Retro Rovers for us?
I do have a Retro Rover, Mike. So, my little riddle this week. From Yorkshire's pride, I won the league. In Leeds, I thrived. My skills unique. Blackburn's red rose, I made my mark. Then off to Newcastle, as I'd lost my spark. With quickly, Kevin, will he score? I missed the cue. And then I disappeared, leaving fans asking, who?
Right, I think I've got that one. I think he's famous for a little trip abroad in our Champions League, one of our Champions League games. So we'll get to that one. Obviously, put your comments down below if you think you've got it. But while you're doing that, like, subscribe, share the podcast. We are trying to grow. The more we grow, the better products. And I might actually be able to play you some audio rather than it messing up on us. So like, subscribe, share, and put your comments down below on who you think the answer is. So, Mark, strikers. Now, This was something me and you spoke about. You shared the full video. We'd all seen Gueye and Campbell on YouTube playing a YouTuber at football with certain shots. Gueye was, I'll be honest, both of them were disappointing for professional footballers. But Gueye, you could tell when he was doing that, he looked uncomfortable. He looked a shell of what we think is what he's like. And I don't know, I was a little bit embarrassed for him on this video. He couldn't seem to hit the target. They were going miles wide. And this is only, 12 to 18 yards out. He's hitting these shots and they were going miles wide. So we're seeing that in a joyful YouTube video. He didn't seem to really want to laugh at himself. He seemed a bit, I don't know, upset. And then you see him in games where he went from this energetic, throwing himself around, smiles, laughing, and that seems to be going. He seems to be going in himself a little bit there. Do you think that the confidence thing is getting to him? I know you've mentioned it in the past that you were worried that if he didn't get a goal or two within his first few appearances, he would shy away. Do you think we're seeing that now?
Yeah. I love the fact that Rovers are putting more content out, and I know this wasn't directly from Rovers, but I do. I love it. When they did the pre-season, they did the golf day, a bit like England did. I love that. I absolutely love it. I want to see more Rovers stuff. I want to see it. I want to get to know the players. I'll watch whatever they put out there. But I was really surprised by the decision when you're pitting a YouTuber on a fun skit, a bit like when Jimmy Bullard used to go around and do, the drill. Campbell, I completely get that, and I expected him to be better than he was, actually. It was a strange decision to put Maktar Gueye in front of that, because he's not somebody you would say... I don't think his technical ability is at the top of his stats, shall we say, or his attributes. And then when the drills they were doing were all around technique, it was a surprise that they put him in it. I couldn't believe they've let it go out there, if I'm being honest, in the end, because it doesn't do him any favours at all. And you're absolutely right. He looks shocking in terms of confidence-wise as well. Now, that was filmed during the recent international break. So maybe all the players weren't there. I don't know. But it was a worry. So I've delved into his stats throughout his career. Now, he's not been somebody who's been prolific anywhere. He, at Oostende, he scored 25 in 71. 1 in 3-ish, it's all right, I suppose. He got 11 in 35 at RWDM. At Nancy, he got 7 in 24. Zaragoza, he had a shocker. But I was looking at when his goals came, and they did actually, because my worry was, whilst we are seeing this snippet, has this drought, if you like, been going on further back? So, sometimes you'll see a player, won't you? Let's say Harry Leonard had come into the team and he'd scored all those early on in the season. And then has he not scored from Christmas? Is it one of them? He did get a real group of goals early on last season. And then Maktar Gueye had not scored in 2024, according to Transfermarkt. So
it's not good reading, is it, really?
No. Now, he then went into the playoffs in April and got 3 goals out of their 5 games. From nowhere, really. But before that, in the league, he had not scored since the 16th of December. It's nearly a year. So he's not.
It just shows he's a confidence player, doesn't it?
He's not scored a league goal for nearly a year. And I think there's 2 elements to this. I think he is definitely short of confidence. But he's not being given the confidence by the coach in terms of, you're my number 9, you're playing week in, week out. I also think we're playing him wrong. For me, I liken him to Rudy Gestede. It's the obvious comparison. And Rudy Gestede was at Cardiff and looked a rubbish footballer. And that's why they basically let him go to us on an emergency loan and let us buy him for next to nothing. He then went to Aston Villa and did okay. He went to Middlesbrough and they thought it was rubbish again. Rudy Gestede was not just a one-season wonder. It was not about something that, sometimes you get a player and it just clicks. What it was we had Craig Conway, and quite simply, Craig Conway would run down the left wing, check back onto his right foot and cross it in. And he would hit an area, and he was fantastic at hitting the same area over and over again. We'd have set pieces, and Ben Marshall would take them, or Conway, and they'd ping them quite flat into the same area. They'd hit the penalty spot each time. And Gestede could attack that all day long. Jordan Rhodes was a better finisher with his feet. Gestede was not the best footballer. But what he was fantastic in the air, at attacking the ball, at timing his runs, and actually just accuracy in the air. Without that, if we'd have put Rudy Gestede in our team last year and carried on playing the way that we played, he'd have done very little. You've got to sometimes adapt the way you're playing. So if we're going to buy Maktar Gueye, surely we know this. I mean, let's be honest, we all watched his YouTube clips, and that kind of looked like what it was. It looked like somebody who's really good in the air and not as great with the ball at their feet. The club will have done a huge amount of homework. So if they've decided to buy him, you would have thought that they would, maybe they think, we can work on the other bits, but you would think that they're thinking, right, well, let's utilize those skills. And I don't feel like we're doing that. I just feel like we could be, even set pieces, we're not floating them into an area. Sometimes we'll take them short. There was a couple of times against West Brom where we took a short corner and messed it up or tried to whip it in. You don't need to be too clever. Just chip it into an area, into the penalty spot, and let him. He knows where it's going to be. Let him make sure he wins the ball. And I think that will give him confidence. There was once or twice against Watford where we did it. So there was the one after the Hayden where it hit the bar and it came out, and then he tried to get to it, but then it came back in, and it was very Gestede-like where he just attacked the ball and the defender went flying. For me, that's what we need to be doing. I think he can do that and he will cause mayhem. Just give him the opportunity to do that. He's not the most technically gifted footballer. But what he does is he holds it up really well and he's bloody dangerous in the air. So I just think let's tweak how we're playing him and you might find that you get something more out of him. If you carry on playing him, we almost don't change how we're playing when he's on the pitch to when Ohashi is. Which, that can't be right, can it? Ohashi and Gueye are completely different skill sets. So the approach play to both of them should be different. And I feel that we're not really playing to his strengths as much as, there are technical gaps. I just feel a bit sorry for him because we're not giving him a run of games and saying you're our number 9, but equally we're not utilising his strengths for me.
And it is weird because when I look at it, it does feel like he was bought as a plan B striker that when things aren't quite going our way, we're going to change it and he's going to be put on and he's going to go just bully his way, like you say, to getting the balls. So now I've had a chance to look at him deeply because I was one of these that, I mean, no one knew anything about him from the start. I get that. But I was one of the early adopters in the first few games. I was like, you know what? This is someone that's going to put a cat amongst the pigeons in games and really, really get us some chances. And I think he has. But a striker is all about scoring goals. And when they're not scoring goals, they get them, they go into a shell. And I think that's what he's done. And you can tell now with his attitude, I think the effort's still there. But his touch is completely gone. His movement isn't quite the same. But I'm going to compare him to Sam Gallagher because I see him as the like-for-like replacement of Sam Gallagher. Now, would Sam Gallagher have done more in his situation? I don't know, but I think Sam Gallagher probably would have been afforded more time by the coach on the pitch, and I don't think Ohashi would have probably seen the pitch as much because for some reason Gallagher just kept getting game after game after game. So I think Gueye is kind of an expendable force at the moment. I completely agree with an earlier comment you made where Ohashi seems to be the one that is in the mould of what Eustace wants out of his centre forward. But Gueye, I just get that feeling he's a plan B striker. He's someone to have on the bench to come on and just give that energy. But when we're seeing him in games and we're seeing some of the things that he's doing, there's just these elements, isn't there, creeping in now with fans where we're looking at his touches, we're looking at a few things, and we're like, okay, we can forgive the goals thing because the way that we play, it's not necessarily the centre forward that gets the goals, as we've proven previously. But for this striker right now is not playing like he started, and normally it's the other way around. Normally they come in and they're a little bit tentative, and then they figure it out. He seems to have taken a little bit of a step back. I agree with an earlier point you made as well about Ohashi seems to be more from a tiredness thing. So his goals have dried up probably because he's a little bit more tired than a technical side, whereas Gueye is definitely more of a confidence thing. So let's move on to Ohashi. Do you kind of agree that Ohashi, he's dried up mainly because of the tiredness?
Yeah, I mean, I think this week has been the perfect case in point. He came back, obviously, last Wednesday, Thursday, he landed. So the Saturday game, he played half an hour, was it? And he was just jet lagged, you could tell. He played Wednesday. I thought he did okay. I thought he looked a bit sharper. And then when he came on, I thought he looked sharp again. It's just that bit of sharpness for Ohashi for me. I think he's just lost that slight edge. But that was bound to happen. And unfortunately, what we haven't got is the luxury of saying, well, it's all right, Yuki, you just have a couple of weeks off, because that's really what he needs. I'm worried that the internationals are coming back up. Is he going to be travelling across the world again? Because that's not what we need. What we actually need is he could do with that too, you know, what is it, week 10-day break. He could do with a full week off, really, I think. Yeah. But I think that's all it is with Ohashi. I just think it's... and I think he needs legs around him as well. What I would like to see, though, is the pair of them play together. I would like Gueye to be the man holding it up. But then if Ohashi's on the pitch, the pressure kind of falls a little bit away from Gueye. And he's had 3 assists already this season. And I feel sorry for him because when he's playing the opening bits of games, let's say he plays against Sheffield United, like we've said, it'll be because we're expecting to not have loads of the ball and we want an out ball. And he does all that dog's work. No one really around him. We're not using him, you know, like you've said, to be a plan B striker, though, he should be coming on and you should be playing in a plan B way. You should be going, right, every free kick we get, let's ping it into the box. Let's get it right under the keeper. Let's get it floated. We don't seem to still do it. So, yeah, I think there's a mixture. I think we're probably using them wrong, but I still would go back to using... I would start both of them, if I'm being honest. I really would. I'd have
Gueye up top, Ohashi maybe like a number 10 role. Yeah.
I think in that number 10 role,
and then Cantwell
really
on the left.
Good.
Would you have Cantwell on the left?
I would. Yeah. I would really... that's what I'd like to see us do this weekend, just to give them that bit of confidence. And I don't see why that's not an option, because Ohashi can play in that 10 role. He will press like Dolan presses. Maybe it's because then where do we go from there? So if Leonard is an option off the bench, maybe he would consider it, because otherwise, I suppose, what do you do? If they both need to come off 60, 70 minutes and you've nothing on the bench, you're stuck, aren't you? But
I guess that's my point, where I feel like he just doesn't trust Gueye at all to play the way he wants him to play.
No, he doesn't.
Which then makes it a very strange signing, like you say, because we do our homework on these players. But we were looking at getting another striker in. It wasn't like we was just settling on Gueye and Ohashi. We were looking at another striker. We did know that Leonard was coming back. So I do think that Gueye was maybe bought to just be that plan B. That plan B to come in and just be physical. Because, I mean, the only real strikers we've got are Gueye, Ohashi and Leonard. Ohashi, you do feel like could push back into that number 10 role, but Gueye and Leonard, I do think they are on that last line and looking for goals. But Guye's not a poacher. He's not got that vision, I don't think, to play that role, whereas Leonard has. But Leonard's coming back from an injury. Apparently, he's done quite well since coming back in the reserves. Do you think he's someone that can come in now and hit the ground running?
I think we need to be very, very careful with Harry Leonard. he's picked a lot of knocks up in his, 18 months that he's been in and around the first team, maybe even 2 years now. He's picked a lot up. And I also worry that, if you bring him back now and he's not fully fit and the strikers aren't firing, and we're going, oh, brilliant, Leonard's back, get him in the team, and then he doesn't quite score, is that going to affect him longer term as well? I think we just need to be very careful with Harry Leonard from a physical and a mental aspect. I think there's something there to work with. I think his movement's something you can't quite teach, but there's a lot to work on, and I don't want us to pin our hopes on him. But I think he should be in and around the team.
And let's assume that Gueye, Ohashi, and Leonard aren't exactly firing up until the window. Is it priority one, get a goal scorer in?
Yes.
I think so, and I think one of them goes out on loan.
The only thing is, I think Ohashi, you could then give him a couple of weeks off, couldn't you? You could then bed him in and not worry about it the same. Maybe Gueye could go out on loan, but then, I don't know, then you lose that plan B. I just think we need some pace in and around them. So if Ohashi was playing, but had runners in behind, it will probably work a bit better. Same with Gueye. So whilst I'm saying, yes, the priority is get a goal scorer in, I actually think pace in one of those wide roles is probably the key priority, because I think that could solve one or two of the issues anyway.
For me now, if we get into the window and we're still struggling, if we can get someone in at the start of the window, someone that fits the bill of having a bit of pace. I mean, let's be honest, we're not going to get someone that ticks every box. We've talked about it before. If you get someone that ticks every box, they're not coming to Blackburn Rovers, because we haven't got the money for it. So if we bring someone in that has a little bit of pace, has something about them, and is quite exciting, I'd quite happily have 2 or 3 weeks of January with Gueye, Ohashi, Leonard, and New Boy. And then at the end of the window, let either Leonard or Gueye go out on loan. So then you can have Ohashi across January potentially having his break for a couple of weeks and then freeing it up. But, I assume there's a plan. Like we said, we could have the next few weeks that suddenly something goes in. I mean, it would have been great if Guye's goal had gone for him rather than going to Dolan. Just for his own confidence, but yeah, it's. I think the next 2 or 3 games for Gueye, we just need to see something from him that he's actually a benefit to the team. When he's in the team, he's offering something, and he's very much going down that Sam Gallagher route at the moment for a lot of fans. I'm not ready to give up on him. I think he's got something that's going to click, and he's going to offer something. What that is, I'm not 100%. I think Ohashi, for me, is showing enough quality and shown enough quality that once he settles in and his tiredness, whatever it is, settles down, I think he will be a quality signing for us. And I have a lot of faith in Harry Leonard to be big. But I agree with you. I don't think he's ready for this level to play week in, week out. I think he's the one that needs to go out on loan to a League One club. Get out there, get some games, go play some men's football, and hopefully January we are bringing someone in to work with the other two.
100%. Harry Leonard needs to be fit, and once we've looked after him and we know he is, I would like to see him go on loan. And the club aren't daft. We know they wanted pace. We know that the lad from Fulham was due to come in. And I would be shocked if we do not bring in a wide player with pace early in January.
Well, that's an interesting one, because I think if we do, that is saying goodbye to Sigurdsson. I think that is the club moving on from him. I assume Koza Dubra is going to start getting some more game time over the next few weeks. Dolan's contract, that's still up in the air, which is really frustrating. I was hoping that would be done by now, which kind of just leaves you with Hedges, Vyman and Cantwell.
Yeah, and I think I'm surprised about the Dolan one. The fact that they're saying that we've not spoken to him properly yet. The only thing I can presume is we have talked, but we've not had major talks because we've said our position hasn't really changed. But I think we'll be looking at life without Tyrese Dolan. I think if we can keep him, it'd be a bonus. And the comments by Eustace the other day where he was saying, you know, to start building, you need to keep players that you want, that you've already got, that you put work into. But we don't know the reasons, do we? But ultimately, I trust what the club are doing right now. And I think it wasn't a perfect transfer window. We knew that. There was loads that we needed to bring in. And we're further along than I thought we would be. We're performing better than I thought we would be. But there's one or two key components that are still not quite right, aren't there? Particularly that final third.
Yeah. And now we have got a striker in the position of making decisions on signings. I do hope that he's going to bring a different outlook to it. He's going to see what needs to be done. And he might be looking at Gueye and thinking, do you know what? I actually want to bring in players that are going to help Gueye. And he might there might be a plan. Hopefully there's a plan. There's always a plan. And we've got to hope that that plan is going to carry on in January. But I'm not massively concerned about the final third in regards to depth. What I'm concerned about is the quality now, because Eustace doesn't seem to be trusting some of these players. And that is me doing a complete 180, because earlier I was saying, you know, Cantwell, brilliant, Vyman, experience, Sigurdsson, he's got a bit of experience, he's good quality. Dolan looks like, you know, he's going to be a talent for the future. Koza Dubry came in very highly rated. Hedges is my boy. I won't have a bad thing said about him. Gueye, big, strong. He's, you know, energetic. Ohashi showed some great quality. And Harry Leonard, again, very young, but showing some good qualities. So when I was going through that was my views. Whereas now I'm thinking, okay, Cantwell's got something about him. Vyman, okay, he's a bit slow. Sigurdsson, obviously not trusted. Dolan, is he... this contract situation, there's something not right either from his side or the club side. Koza Dubry's not played, so there's something there. Hedges is starting to look tired. Guye's not firing, not got his touch. Ohashi's looking tired. Leonard's injured. And suddenly I'm completely opposite, and I'm like, oh my God, we need to actually sort this situation out. Is it something that we need to worry about, you know, quite a lot, or is it just a slight concern?
I think you've done yourself a disservice there, really, Mike. I think the comments that you've made at the beginning were right, and that's how we see them. What we're basing this on, the change, is that Dolan's not signed his contract for him, but the rest of it is based on what we're seeing from Eustace. And I think the fact that we've got so much trust in him, and the word you use, trust, is the right word. We've got trust in him, and he doesn't seem to trust some of these players. So therefore, whilst we look at it and say we know Sigurdsson's got ability, we know Vyman's got the quality, and to be fair, he does seem to trust Vyman because he plays a lot. But Koza Dubry's had a knock for a couple of weeks. I think he will start to come into the fold, but he doesn't seem to trust Gueye or Ohashi, I think, fitness-wise, and Leonard fitness-wise. But yeah, I think that's the key word there. We trust Eustace, and he doesn't seem to trust these. So if he doesn't trust them, then there's no point having them around as squad players if they're not going to contribute. So then we need to be looking at that area.
And I'll be honest, a lot of the mailbag questions were based around these striking options. Riz put, I'm just wondering, Mike and Mark, do we need another striker? I think we do. For some reason, the ones that we have, one of them stopped firing for now, and the other one, unfortunately, hasn't got off the ground yet. I think we've answered that one. Tim DYO, based on how John Eustace likes the team to play, what type of striker do we need up front, and what key attributes do they need to have? I think we've answered that one. It does seem to be quite the concern for a lot of fans. You know, Andrew Verdon's messaged on emailed us saying 12 games in, Gueye has not scored. Is it too early to judge him? Is he not getting the service, or is he not good enough? I think we've answered that one as well. I think people are worried about this final third, and we've said all along we are a club that is fighting for scraps in the transfer market. We're having to be smart. We haven't got the money to go out and get someone that ticks every single box. We've said that 1,000 times. So we've now got to be smart, and you've got to take these calculated risks. Ohashi, Gueye, Telovic last year, these are all calculated risks, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to find someone that, from a personality point of view, fits your squad, because you don't want to bring in a knobhead. You want to bring someone in that fits into the dressing room, fits into your tactics. Then the next level is, okay, what do they offer? Does that fit into our tactics? Does that fit into the ethos of what we're trying to do? And then you start to take these risks. Japan seems to be the untapped resource at the moment that people are trying to get into, and everyone. I mean, we looked at that Rio Jermaine as well. We could be back in for him. Am I right in thinking he hasn't moved? I'm not too sure. I haven't really kept up with it. But I think the Duncan Maguire one's completely gone now. But that was the old regime. But the new regime, I'm guessing that there's a plan there. But there is always going to be an element of risk. Ohashi, he started well, and yes, he's petered off a little bit, but you can tell there's quality there. And Gueye, it hasn't paid off yet, but it could still pay off. I just think that with our youth system, with the players coming through there, with what we have now, I'm not concerned that we're going to be dropping like a stone after Christmas, like we traditionally have done, but we are going to have to take another risk in the transfer market, and we are going to need an extra body up front. I do think it was going to be someone different. I agree with you. I think you've got a technical ability in Ohashi. I think you've got strength in Gueye. I think the next sign is probably someone with pace, and then hopefully they can coach the rest. I agree with you there. I mean, do you think we're just going to aim for pace, or do you think it's going to be trying to find someone just to fit the tactics?
I think pace is the attribute we've not brought in. That's the attribute that we wanted the lad from Fulham for. That's the attribute that when there was a list of 4 things we needed: leadership, power. What was it? They said they wanted leadership, power, experience, and pace. And we've not brought the pace in. And that's abundantly clear. I just think, obviously, but people are focusing on Ohashi and Gueye mainly. I think it runs a bit deeper than that. I think as a team, we've got Tyree Stolen in the number 10 majority of the time because we want him to press, because otherwise you'd have Cantwell there for ability-wise. So that number 10 role is quite key to us. With the work that Dolan's doing, and it is a tremendous amount of work, he's not then giving us that much. I mean, I said that. He's got 1 in 3 goal contributions for games. He's got 2 assists, 2 goals, but we're not getting creativity from him in the same way. And then our wingers are quite, Cantwell's the one, isn't he? But wingers, if you look at Vime and you look at Hedges, generally they're the 2. Even when Rankin Costello was there, it's quite workmanlike. It's they're good. They're tactically, they're very good. They drop in, they work hard, they help out defensively. There's no creativity coming from them as much as we would like, partly because of the role they're doing for the team. But I think that's where some of it's got to come from. You've got to see people running in behind. If you have people running in behind, let's look at Harry Kane in the World Cup, in the Euros. Everyone talks about Harry Kane. Oh, he's finished. He keeps dropping deep. Harry Kane's been doing that for years. The difference is he had Raheem Sterling running in behind and no one noticed. We haven't got somebody running in behind. And that can be the difference between a tactical system going forward working and not. We've always had it. We had Armstrong. We had Marcus Antonsen even, who was not great, but effective in what he did. We had Brereton Diaz was doing it. We've lost pace and a directness to run towards goal. And without that, you can just become predictable. And that's why I'm saying I'm not overly worried. I think we are where we are. We're doing really well. We're just missing some components that you can't hand them to somebody. So, yeah, I think pace is the key.
Yeah, completely agree. Hopefully they've got a plan in place and there's someone that's going to come in. But I have faith that things are going to get better between now and then, and we'll be having a different conversation. But guys, put your comments down below. What do you think of the striking situation as individual strikers, as a unit? Where do you think we need to improve in the strikers unit? What would you do with Gueye? What would you do with Leonard? Put your comments down below. But before we wrap things up, Mark, we've got your retro rover. Do you want to give us the riddle again?
The riddle, yeah. So from Yorkshire's pride, I won the league. In Leeds, I thrived. My skills unique. To Blackburn's red rose, I made my mark. Then off to Newcastle as I'd lost my spark. With quickly, Kevin, will he score? I missed the cue. And then I disappeared, leaving fans asking, who? It is, of course,
David Batty.
Of course it is. Now, the reason I picked David Batty, Mike, was we put a tweet out. Is it still called a tweet on X? Can we still call it a tweet? We put a post out, maybe. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is. So we whacked one out saying on this day, and we'd signed David Batty for 2.75 million in 92, which was what we did back then. We looked at our team and went, yeah, we've got a decent team. How do we upgrade? We signed the Claude Makelele before Claude Makelele was invented. And we brought David Batty in from Leeds. He'd already won the league. What a player. He was Paul Ince's understudy, really, for England. Ironically, didn't play much of the championship season because he'd broken his foot. And now's disappeared off the face of the earth. You don't see him. He doesn't do podcasts. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't do appearances. Apparently, he didn't really like football that much. I remember hearing an interview with somebody, and he missed, obviously, the reference I've made. He missed the penalty, didn't he, when they asked Kevin Keegan, will he score? Whatever the phrase was. And he missed that one against Argentina when Beckham got sent off in the 98 World Cup. And somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody had said, how will David Batty be? And they were like, it couldn't have happened to anyone better. He will literally just go, oh, well, that's football. Yeah, I didn't score. And it wasn't that he didn't care, and he cared on the pitch, didn't he? He was ferocious, but they just said he just wasn't. He saw football for what it possibly should be. It's not for me, but it is a game. But yeah, memories of David Batty, Mike.
I just remember thinking when I see the name David Batty, he was the perfect player playing in the perfect era for him. You put him in any other era and he might not have been successful, but his actual footballing ability, with his attitude, with his aggression, his willingness to tackle, he was just the perfect player at the perfect time in that centre mid. He broke things up. He was aggressive, maybe a little bit too aggressive with Graham Rousseau. That was a little bit of an embarrassing moment for them both. But I remember when we signed him, it seemed to be that he was not the missing piece, but someone that was just going to come in and just break up any attack that came, and he was willing to do that dog work. But he had qualities going forward.
Oh, he did. I think when he went back to Leeds, he'd evolved a bit, hadn't he? Normally players change from being box to box to more of a holding midfielder. He almost did it in reverse, but he was underrated as a footballer. But equally, he was quite happy, wasn't he, to just break up the play and go, no, I'll lay the ball off. He was somebody who I'd never quite seen a player like him before. Back then, your midfielders were box to box, all of them. But he came and he just had this comfortableness in his own skin to say, that's all right, I'll sit here. I'll just do this. That's all right. And he won the ball. He was ferocious. He was calm. Not with Graham Rousseau, like you've said, but he was generally very calm. He was quite a calming influence on it. What I can't get away, though, when we're talking about David Batty, was as good as he was, and he would have played for England an awful lot more had Paul Ince not been as good as he was. But David Batty was signed because we tried to always upgrade, didn't we? We had Bobby Mims. We went, Bobby Mims is a decent keeper, but we need to upgrade if we're going to win the league. Who's the best keeper we can get? Right, well, we can't get Schmeichel. We can't get Seaman. Let's get Tim Flowers. In midfield, right, we can't have Paul Ince. We tried for Roy Keane. he's ended up disappearing. Right, David Batty's the next one on the list. In he comes, because we were trying to upgrade on Mark Atkins to partner Sherwood. Ironically, Mark Atkins, because of Batty, I think even got even better. And when Batty was then injured, Mark Atkins was integral to that championship team. Absolutely integral. And I can't mention Batty without mentioning Mark Atkins, because he was the classic player that gets overlooked. He was the one that, oh, yeah, we'll replace him soon. Yeah, we'll upgrade on him. Started out as a right back, shifted into midfield, and very rarely gets mentioned. In our championship team, you talk about Flowers, Hendry, Lasso, Shearer and Sutton, obviously. Wilcox and Ripley in their things. Actually, Mark Atkins was the heartbeat of that team.
Was that third top goal scorer that season, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty sure he was, yeah.
And what, he really, really was a good footballer. But the retro over this week is David Batty. I was disappointed with David Batty when he left. So he jumped ship very early, didn't he? 96. He decided that I can see where this is going. I'm off. And jumped ship to go to Kevin Keegan and Newcastle's project, and ended up back with Dalglish very soon after, obviously, and Shearer. And they tried to replicate what we'd done and failed miserably. Yeah, not everyone could buy the league. But, yeah, I just felt not many players around at the time were as good as David Batty at what he did. I'm not going to say he was the best in the world at what he did, because Roy Keane could do that. Paul Ince could do that. Other players in the world could do it. But for people who've not seen him play and remember Claude Makelele, I suppose, he's probably similar to that. Is there anyone else? I mean, Fabinho at Liverpool a couple of years ago used to do a similar role. It was that kind of role, wasn't it, that he played, where he'd sit there, win the ball. You didn't really get past him, but would lay the ball off, but could go forward if he needed to do.
Yeah, it was a simple era, wasn't it? It was, your 4-4-2 era. After your goalkeeper, you had a left back that you hoped could get forward and play a ball, but actually, I just really want you to come and stop the winger. Same at right back. You had two huge centre backs that were just there to be big brutes and just stop the striker and kill anyone that comes near them. Your wingers were always tricky wingers to beat a man and get a cross in. And then in your centre midfield role, you had your more creative midfielder and then someone to protect him. And that was your David Batty's, your Roy Keane's, ended up being your Patrick Vieira's and that kind of role. And then your strikers was big man, little man, normally something along those lines, someone with a bit of pace to get him behind, but someone that was willing to be strong. And that was the formula that everyone followed. And David Batty, like I said, he just fell into a role that was absolutely perfect for his game in an era that was perfect for David Batty. And that's why, but he just wasn't quite, like you say, there was always someone slightly better than him. But I think because he was so quiet off the pitch, he just didn't get that recognition, did he? It was like, you know what? I'm not going to do interviews. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just, cause I think he's got a farm or something now. Someone said, and he's something a proper like that, recluse. And fair play to him. If you're good at something, come make your money and go. Fair play. But from a footballing point of view, he was a quality player. Quality fit the era perfectly.
He did, and it was quite interesting. So on the end of the post that I put out, I said, was he underrated as a footballer? And the responses were so contrasting. I've had people going, oh my goodness, yeah, he was so underrated. And then there's nobody who's in the middle going, yeah, a little bit. I've had just the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So it's interesting, yeah. Let us know your thoughts or your memories of David Batty. Obviously, we know the Lasso ones, but won the league with Leeds, the last first division before it became the Premier League. Won the league with Rovers, played in the Champions League with Rovers, played in the Champions League with Newcastle, played in the Champions League with Leeds again when he'd gone back, played in World Cups for England, and been at Rovers. So not many of our players can have that kind of CV.
No, and considering he didn't even like football, that's a hell of a career. But yeah, put your comments down below, and obviously any comments based on what we've talked about. We've hit the injury time. We're in the 93rd minute. So, Mark, always a pleasure, my man.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I think it'll be a good game against Sheffield United. They usually bring a few, usually a good atmosphere. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And hopefully we've got positivity talking Monday that both our strikers have scored goals and things are all looking up, Rovers. So, but like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Comment down below, questions into the blackburnend@gmail.com or down below. Any tweets we put out, if you've got any questions, put it on there. We do read it all. But thanks for listening and have a good week.